Hello and welcome to the Futureprint Leaders Summit. I'm Karis Kopp. I'm really happy to be joined by Team Solomar today. I have Marianne Rowan, Chief Experience Officer, and Jonathan Malone-McGrew, Senior Director of Engagement. Thank you both so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Karis, for having us.
Yes, it's great to see you again, virtually anyway.
Virtually.
And fantastic to have Solomar back at the Futureprint events. And you know, this is the first Leaders Summit that we've hosted, and it was, you know, like the other events that we've run, born out of that need for a platform that looks at adaptability and leadership in turbulent times. And I think we can all agree it has been turbulent times over the last 12 months. So perhaps we could start the conversation by discussing, you know, the last 12 months in the printing industry. And Marianne, you know, you work with a lot of hardware vendors and customers in strategic ways. Maybe we could talk a little bit about your experience with that over the last 12 months.
Yes. Well, this past year, it's been very challenging for our customers and our partners. Certainly the rise and fall of work volumes, their staff and teams needing to work remotely and often with only a few people in the print center. This can also be challenging for managers to know if their jobs are getting out, if printers or presses need servicing. And it can be challenging for the hardware vendors to gain access to facilities at times as well. On our recent Customer Advisory Council meeting, some of our members shared how they have higher numbers of jobs now, jobs or orders, but with smaller quantities, and more personalization, but often with tighter turnaround times. So the volume of work keeps increasing, and they have to come up with really unique ways to be able to support their work and their customers, and of course take care of their employees.
Mm-hmm. And Jonathan, I don't know if you've got anything that you want to add to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen is this laser focus back on efficiencies, right? You know, to all the points that Marianne made, and just all of her work with our great Customer Advisory Council members and partners, and mine as well, what we're hearing is that the challenges of not having access to your environment and not knowing what work is coming when, or really whether you can service it, means that you want to take all of the kind of unknowns out of your processes, all these manual processes that in the past were okay maybe to live with because it worked with the business model. Today we're kind of seeing this resurgence of wanting things to come in an automated fashion, being optimized to really the nth degree, right? So that you can see the most efficiency, but also you're future-proofing yourself, right? Because if your staff has to be remote, you want things to be happening, whether they're the one manually taking the file off the FTP and moving it or not. And I think that really goes from the beginning of where work starts with a customer, when they take the work into their environment and they start working with it, all the way to when it's delivered. There's so many touch points in there that we see that software can really help. And we think leadership is really looking at this, because we don't know if we'll ever see another one of these events in the future, but now we have to plan for it. It's now part of disaster recovery.
Absolutely.
And you know, it's interesting to hear you talk about the Customer Advisory Council. I think, you know, in situations like this, it's vital to have that dialogue and be talking, you know, to the customers. And, you know, I believe that's also expanded to members in Europe, which will definitely be of a lot of interest to a lot of the Futureprint community. Maybe, Marianne, you could tell us a little bit about the Customer Advisory Council and why it's important, and especially now.
Yes, it's critical to us. We have a 30-member Customer Advisory Council, and we work really closely with them. They share their business needs with us and really help us guide our development efforts. And this really helps us deliver solutions and features that are really most relevant in driving automated workflows. And so we're in regular, constant communication with many of them. We have monthly meetings now. Often they're hosted by a member. We're starting this year, and really just a great network of sharing with each other, plus with us as basically a trusted advisor.
Fantastic.
I think you would agree, Jonathan.
Oh, of course. I mean, the thing about our customer advisory council is they're so important to being able to produce relevant and capable solutions that the market needs. We've actually, I think it would be fair to say, Marianne, that we changed our development paths based on what our customers needed in the
Yes.
last 12 months. And we've seen them be able to do things that they didn't honestly know if they'd be able to do. Even at the end of last year, we had a customer take one of our newer solutions around tracking and dashboarding and stand it up in like 45 days, Marianne, at the end of the
Yes.
year and the end of the quarter at the craziest time of year. But it's setting themselves up for a much better 2021. And I think
Exactly.
that's the leadership vision, right? And so we look to our CAC for that amazing input because we're out in the market, but there's just nothing that replaces that perspective of the day to day. And so I think part of what I love about working with Marianne and her guidance of Solimar for the past 30 years, our 30th anniversary this year, is that she has the vision to connect with people, and it's not easy to ask people to take time out of their day when they're executives and leaders in their companies and be a part of an advisory council, but she makes it fun, she makes it informative, she makes it relevant, and builds a community that I've rarely seen in the print industry really work out well. It reminds me of what we're starting to see around the V Press, around the pub, the Crown Pub. And I just think it's the most important thing we can do to make sure our solutions are informed by the world, as opposed to just our thoughts about how people might want to use print, or digital.
Has anything surprised you about what people have said over the course of the pandemic in terms of speaking to your advisory council about, the challenges they face?
I'd say there's been several. First, certainly our customers have really experienced more messy files of late. And us coming out with Ready PDF last year, they can now look and see how long prepress takes because the files come in and if garbage in, garbage out. So if we can actually fix that ahead of time, that's I'd say one thing. The other is visibility. The ability to see their jobs, their sites remotely, and now more and more customers want to see their jobs and even do proof approval or rejections of pieces of jobs. And again, that all used to be manual. They used to call their customer service rep and they'd go manually pick through the files, or worst case, they'd run over and do diverts of envelopes, right? You've seen people digging through the mail bins. That all can go away now because we can control all that or offer a solution. So I think that's been really helpful for our customers, as Jonathan mentioned.
Yeah, and I think, Karis, what I'd add to that is just, this concept of visibility doesn't just mean being outside of the building. We're not going to go back real quick to wanting lots of people in close quarters. Whether there's masks or not, I think there's always going to be, for the next 12 months at least, if not a little longer, this realization that sicknesses carry, that contact is a spreader of that. So why jump up from your office and run out to the floor and run around the floor to get your information? Do you have the ability to only do that when you need to have that conversation? Do you really have to jump up every time you want to know something about your workflow? So we talk about this visibility and this remote working, not just about being outside your building, but what if you're in your office in the plant? Why do you need to jump up and run down and do that task switching and in that kind of interruptus thing that's going to happen, right? So what I would say is we're seeing people kind of think about that and think about the level of contact that people are going to be comfortable with. And I'm sure it'll change over time. But again, if something happens in the future, they're going to have a plan and they're going to be able to fall back to being remote and being able to use software and solutions, which based on our latest development, right, Marianne, I can't wait to see what else we're going to come out with, because we've come out with remote release, we've come up with proof and approvals, and it's just really exciting to see how technology can make really positive steps forward, for
Well, yeah, and we added these specifically because of our customer advisors who actually gave us and actually showed us what they needed, what they currently had in their environment. And we delivered actually some solutions earlier than we had anticipated to meet these customer requirements. And from talking to this customer that we'll have a case study with him by the summer, I believe, he's actually planning that. He's knowing a lot of workers are never going to come back. They're going to be remote for now on. So people are rethinking, their entire workflow, but also their office spaces and everything. So that's really been interesting to see. And maybe you've seen that as well in the UK.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt that all over things are going to keep adapting and keep evolving. And I think what you guys are doing is key. You have to listen to what your customers need and then meet those needs. There's rather than developing and then waiting for people to realize that they need it. So I think it's fantastic the work you're doing there with the customers. And on that note, every time I've had the pleasure of speaking with you, Marianne, or you, Jonathan, it's clear that relationships are really at the heart of what you do, and building strong relationships with your customers and partners is really important to the leadership at Solimar. I wonder if you have any experiences that you can share that will inspire the attendees we have here at the Future Print Leaders Summit today, Marianne.
Sure. Well, certainly Jonathan and I, it is all about the relationships, and we're grateful to have, we work with you. We consult with Pat McGrew as well, who's a wonderful relationship builder. And so we include her in our CAC meetings as well, because she has this huge industry insight. I can be kind of very narrow, in what we do, but here she understands, so much more. So we try to be really educational. And really, our goal is to be, again, the trusted advisor, really being extensions to our customers and our partners' teams. We want to deliver, modular, relevant solutions, and really to understand their business goals. So as we mentioned, the one customer earlier, we have another that has done recordings with us. And as we, in a case study currently, Chris from Gilmore, we have a case study on our website as well with him. And what he brought in is the ability with Ready PDF to not only fix all the files that were coming in that were badly constructed, but it optimizes them also for his archive. And the size, Jonathan, you probably remember more than I, of the size and the time that it saves him is really just really amazing.
Yeah, I just for our viewers, this is where I think the leadership inside of a customer is really important too, to know that they have trusted advisors and their vendor partners. It's something, Pat talks a lot about, and since we're related in our family, I think I get it by osmosis. But it's this idea.
I call her mom sometimes too. It happens.
It's hard, the family that prints in digitals together stays together. But Chris, had the foresight to test, for his environment and be that trusted advisor within his group to find new ways. And so he talks about, how they had these 660 gig files when they brought all the work together, that they were trying to move through their processes. And by optimizing it through our technology with Ready PDF, they were able to come down to half a gig. And that, when you then think about, extrapolate that, as he said in his interview, over just the number of jobs you bring together in a day, the terabytes of savings in the storage area is really, really important, because we talk about digital as saving paper, but one of the things we forget about is the amount of data we're storing and the amount of power that takes, the amount of cost that storage is. And that's a big business these days, is the digital storage, but also just the time. Their workflow went from 24 hours to under an hour. And we're seeing that more and more, even when it's not Ready PDF. We've got customers that we're working with right now to tell their story, right, Marianne, where we're seeing 12 times faster, their workflows being 12 times faster, or in some cases, 160 times faster. Not to, pre-release things, but it's so important to know that there's a range. And with Ready PDF, we talk about people on average seeing 7 to 14 times improvement. And that's money today. I mean, that's money, that's lack of frustration. That's a whole bunch of stuff that we need.
Yeah, and we'll have a KPI report, a key point intelligence report coming out hopefully by the summer. They've been also closed, but they're doing lab testing on their own files, real data. And so they presented with us last year. They actually gave us an award, which was really great. But I'm excited to share the report as well, because it'll be on the different DFEs or digital front ends, along with the different printers and presses that they have access to, and to run these files for us. The other thing I was going to add, Jonathan, was also just being able to move these files. When huge files come in, it can take just a lot of processing time and even time in general to move them between factories. So, the more optimized the files can be, it's going to just start off better and then, continue throughout the factory.
Fantastic. And it's great to hear that you're telling the stories of your customers. There's the customer advisory council and a great way of sharing information, but also, there's people out there that need Solimar and need those solutions and might be able to, it's really useful, isn't it, to see a real world example and think that's the problem I have, or that's a problem I face, and see a solution to it. So I'm glad to hear that we're spreading the word of how you help your customers, and more people be able to take advantage of that. And the Leaders Summit that we're all involved in right now, the idea was a big picture vision, picking the brains of leaders in the industry, and getting their visions and their insights. But it's also about the technology that's going to enable the future. So perhaps we could talk a bit about how Solimar is making it possible for printers to leverage technology, given the challenges of the last 12 months and that we're still experiencing.
Yeah, I think let me start on this one, and then Marianne can follow up from her perspective. I think it's really our strong partnerships with our hardware vendors, our print technology vendors, and even our software partners. So it's kind of funny when you say you're a software company and you have software partners, but it's very true, especially around mailing technologies and what we call piece level tracking technologies, and being able to really connect with things in other systems, the APIs and the different integrations. And we've put a lot of focus on that at Solimar. Really in the last couple years, even more so than the last 10, because it's just such an important part of a customer environment working together. So with our hardware manufacturers, our print manufacturers, we're working with things like JDF and JMF and other API integrations so that you can get data to and from the devices, you can get more information from the devices that then can inform the systems, like our dashboarding systems for ink and media usage. There's other things we're doing though as well, like looking at how jobs are passed and job ticketing is passed, from print web to print systems or print MIS systems into the production area and the production systems. Mm-hmm. So I really think it's all about ecosystem, and we hear a lot of people over the last several years talk about islands of automation, but there's these islands of visibility too. And what we need is no one product is probably ever going to be end to end. I think a lot of companies have tried it. It's never been the Solimar method. We've always specialized and focused on what we do well. And then what we want to do is partner to make it possible for a customer to achieve the rest of their goals. And being the best vendor and partner we can be is going to make them successful, we think. And we think a lot of companies are taking that strategy today. So I think that's the key, right, Marianne, is just using technology to make things easier, not harder. And nobody wants shelfware, right? So what we want is people to use it, to love it, and to make sure that it really gets its way out into all parts of their business so that they can be successful.
Yeah, we really want to we really listen to their needs, and as Jonathan was saying, really deliver good solutions that they need now. And so what we like to talk about a lot is that we offer tactical to strategic solutions. So we can very quickly, our software can go in and fix an issue, whether it's a printer clutching, font issues, image issues, etc., color issues. We could easily go in and fix that. And we have, again, tactical solutions, even subscription-based now. We have redone some of our pricing, so it's very easy for customers to acquire software that they need. And then our goal is that they roll it out so other applications use it as well. So I think what's key to Solimar is that our solutions are off the shelf, they're modular, configurable, and really require little to no custom services. And if we do services, it's really around training and then best practices. And so what we also offer is to all of our customers and all of our partners globally is our online learning platform called Solimar University Online, or SUO. And this is full of great content from installation, setting up workflows, again, best practices, security, and then even customer testimonials go in there. Sometimes we have customers who can't be in the public facing, but they'll actually give us quotes and do interviews with us that I can keep inside SUO. And so it's great. Customers really want to hear from other customers and partners as well. And so we try to really take care of them all and then really meet what their need is, because they all have, very unique and different requirements.
It's really, really interesting. I think, two of the things there, that modular approach, and also, Jonathan, what you were saying about collaboration with other software companies, doing what you're good at and finding the right partners. I think you're right. There's businesses that try and do it all in some ways when it's not, the right decision, perhaps. And that's a leadership skill as well, knowing, what's the best step, that's not necessarily, doing everything yourself. And I think just first of all, if we stay on that, the collaboration side of things, if we look forward to the next couple of years, we as we've already talked about, things are evolving and things are changing, and they aren't going back to how they were, pre-pandemic. In terms of trends and how we see, the market playing out, from your perspective, from what you've been seeing, how do you see things evolving over, let's say, the next couple of years?
Well, certainly, I think with the visibility that's going to only continue to connect, whether it's JDF, JMF, but Internet of Things, it's really going to be bringing in more of the artificial intelligence. As that comes around, that'll start playing a bigger role, I believe, in the print factories. I think Jonathan has seen some of that as well, certainly. And we really we keep close to those trends, and then we see how it can directly benefit our customers, and we really take it to the advisors and say, what do you think? Would this be valuable? We put out polls. We ask them to go talk to other people, because our customers who we're talking to are like the C-level, typically, owners or, CEOs, CTOs. And so they don't always touch our software. They may not even know what it looks like, because we're not composition, we're post-composition. So we kind of just make everything run better and smoother. But, it's just, through the relationships is how we'll continue to deliver really powerful solutions. And I think Jonathan would have thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, Karis, I think what I see in the short term anyway is this continued move to consolidating to like one kind of technology to print and then display electronically. We talk about that a lot with PDF because it's really seemed to become the winner. Now, what's interesting about that is that's very true in like Europe and in the North American regions. We're seeing a lot of PDF, a lot of people wanting to standardize. Like we presented our Bourne's case study in the last Future Print session not that long ago. And that was moving to a PDF workflow. But there's whole parts of the world that are still not on PDF as a standard. So I think we're going to see this globalization of PDF. We have a, shameless plug. We have our Solimar Secrets, videos with our president and CEO who talks with Pat about this, about, PDF plus JDF equals an automated document factory or an ADF. And I think it's a really important concept that there are still a lot of mainframes out there running stuff. There's still a lot of people creating file types, printing things out of TIFF, out of image raster kind of things that because they can, because there's nothing real. There's really never been an impetus maybe to change in certain areas. But I really think the last 12 months has been the impetus. It's been that shove over the cliff that we had to have to think about how we want to really restructure print and digital and continue to evolve them. And with products, we talk a lot about, smaller quantities in a single order, but much, much more personalization. Well, that's really hard to do with a lot of the older technology. In PDF, I think, and technology like JDF and JMF are going to be I think the forerunners of a new breath of life in the industry, because I don't think printing will ever go away, but I think it'll always be a wild ride. I think it'll always have new innovation and always have its relevance, and people are going to use that to to do business, to continue to grow and be successful.
We used to really carefully segment our customers too, direct mailers, transactional, implants. Well, they're almost all turning into everything. Our direct mailers now are doing lots of transactional, or typically almost the right other way around. They're doing less transactional, but more direct mail. We're certainly seeing that requires. So PDF is just a great conduit to have as your pivot for everything you want. You can direct it to any system you have, and then again with the trackability. So we think that this is the right track for us. This is the right track where our customers are going. And as we hear new innovations, we definitely bring them to our customers and kind of the educational side and ask their questions. And so, so that's why we love these forums. They're just so helpful. I learn a lot as well. So.
Oh, me too. And I think just to add to that, Karis, to kind of just attach to the leadership aspect, I think that could be what someone could take from listening today is, are you helping to guide and be the leader in your organization to not do things in the old way? Do you have a lot of older technology that you've been avoiding dealing with? And look, we've all been there. We all have those things, but is now the time to start to consider what would the ROI be on that? And what we've seen is 6-figure ROI off making change. And that, I don't think people really think that exists anymore. I think we think that technology is advanced past that, but there is a lot of opportunity to take that pressure and frustration off the day-to-day operators and workers in a lot of areas of print and digital technology today.
Right. And hopefully people know, we're a trusted advisor, trusted partner, 30 years in the business, more than 10,000 installations. So, and the nice thing is if we don't do something, we probably can point you to someone who does what you're looking to do. So we just want to be really open. Jonathan is wonderful to work with, and we both are just available all the time. And again, we really only want the right business. So if it's really not right for us, we will happily help them, guide people to really what they need. So.
And I think that's something that's key, isn't it? Again, going to the leadership aspect as this event is around, part of being a good leader is, it's being a true partner, isn't it? It's not just, this person needs something, I'm going to sell them something we have. When actually, this partner that we work with or this colleague in the industry might have something that's better suited to them. And I think that's how you get to 30 years as a trusted partner, I think. So it's great to hear that you're, an advisor and a partner as well as, the provider of the software. What a great conversation. It's always such a pleasure to talk with you guys, to talk with Solimar and hear about what you're doing. And just thank you to everybody that watched the session, everybody here at the Future Print Leaders Summit. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Jonathan, for your time.